With the release of the Outdoors update, we were revealed a ton of new lore about the subfloor and its inhabitants. However, in addition to that, we also received an expansion to the story of one of the previously implemented entities in the game, that being Glitch. Now, if you recall, for a long while, Glitch was completely non-canon. However, they were made relevant to the game's lore officially in the content update. In this update, however, we received a massive lore secret reveal about their character, which may hint towards them being the most powerful creature in the entire game. Dear viewers, prepare yourself to embark on a tale of lies, secrets, and possibly the most overpowered force in the universe of Doors. We have got a lot to discuss in this video, so with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so let's go over Glitch's lore before this update so everybody is caught up to speed. Glitch is a rather mysterious entity who appears in two scenarios, those being when the game breaks or if you fall behind other players in exclusively subfloors. In either of these instances, Glitch will appear and teleport you to either a safely loaded room or to the main group of other players. That isn't their only ability though, as they also control glitch fragments. If you encounter Glitch too many times in a playthrough or just get very lucky, you can find a glitch fragment. Picking up this item will cause Glitch to attack you by inducing one of 3 hallucinations onto you. These hallucinations are glitched versions of other entities, those being Glitch Rush, Glitch Ambush, and Glitch Screech. Now, although these are only figments of your imagination, other players can't even see them. If you are attacked by one, it'll actually cause your player character to have a heart attack and die for real. In the game, of course. If you can survive the hallucinations, then you'll be rewarded by presumably Glitch. Now, all of what I just said is relatively unchanged information. However, what was changed is how it relates back to Guiding Light and Curious Light. You see, although Guiding Light is knowledgeable about every threat in the main floors, they don't have a clue about what Glitch is or how they necessarily attack you. All they know is that sometimes you do something that causes you to see things, eventually, which result in you dying from a heart attack. Which makes sense, as Glitch as well as their hallucinations happen entirely in your head. So it's no wonder they don't know what's going on. Since the content update release, that was basically all we knew about Glitch's story. There's some type of hallucination that can spawn other deadly hallucinations, and due to their nature, Guiding Light doesn't really know much about them. However, that changed with the Outdoors update. You see, although Guiding Light does have unique dialogue for dying to glitch fragment entities, Curious Light didn't when the release of the content update occurred, as they just reused Guiding Light's dialogue lines. That was fixed in the Outdoors update though, and the dialogue they received is definitely a whole lot more interesting. Unlike Guiding Light, who has no clue as to what Glitch is, Curious Light knows exactly what is going on with them. When you first die to a glitch fragment entity in Curious Light's presence, they reveal that Glitch must have broken some type of barrier meant to keep them away, followed by the exact methodology of how to avoid the entity. Then, if you continue to die to glitch fragment entities, Curious Light, in an almost annoyed and anxious mood, will reiterate how to avoid Glitch. Now, if you've dealt with Curious Light before, you'd realize that this behavior is very out of the ordinary for them. As Curious Light themselves stated, their purpose is not to help players, but only to observe them, only providing very minor hints if they notice we are extremely struggling. So, for them to not only tell us straight away in perfect detail how to avoid Glitch, but also in a way that makes them seem like they really don't want us going near this entity, makes it seem like there's a very good reason he wants us to stay away from them. And given how it appears he put something in place to prevent Glitch from reaching us, which ultimately failed, it almost guarantees he doesn't want Glitch near us for some reason. Now, as for what that reason is, it is quite early to tell. However, there has been one theory I've seen floating around that I think could be plausible, and that is how Glitch broke the main floor and subfloor barrier. Essentially, there's a theory which states that some type of barrier, likely set up by Curious Light, exists in between main floors and subfloors which allows subfloor entities to travel to main floors, but not the other way around. This is why entities such as the World Lotus, Sally, and Curious Light themselves are present in subfloors and main floors, but any main floor entities, including Guiding Light, are not present in subfloors. In fact, given how the crucifix is just completely ineffective in subfloors, it likely means Guiding Light is completely prohibited from even entering them, further proving that something is stopping them from crossing over into subfloors. Obviously though, Glitch somehow broke this barrier, as they exist in every single floor. And that may be a threat to Curious Light, as it means their barrier somehow failed to prevent an entity from crossing between floors. As to how Glitch managed to overcome Curious Light's barrier, it was likely through the player. As I've said, Glitch is a hallucination, not a physical entity. Sure, they are a deadly force, but they aren't real like other entities are. Given how the player can freely travel between main floors and subfloors, Glitch likely just hitched a ride on you to get free access to every single floor. This implies that Glitch is a very powerful entity due to how they aren't a physical being. They can essentially bypass anything the architects do because they don't really exist. Now, keep in mind that this whole theory of a barrier between main floors and subfloors is just a theory, based on the very little evidence we have so far. It's still possible that Curious Light could be referring to some other barrier in their dialogue, but as I said, it's just way too vague to concisely tell. But I do think this theory does hold some weight, and if it is true, it may make Glitch the strongest character in the entire game, able to overtake the architects themselves. Now, that reveal is great and all, but what's even more interesting is that it appears Curious Light is actually withholding all of this information from Guiding Light. Oh yes, you heard that right, viewers. Apparently, the architects are keeping secrets from each other. Let's explore that a little deeper. Now, it should be fairly common knowledge at this point that Curious Light and Guiding Light have the ability to speak with each other. This is going back to the identity of She, a mysterious female character who has spoken to Curious Light, but this character is almost definitely Guiding Light, and that is for several reasons. For one, at the time this dialogue line was released, Guiding Light was the only potentially female character in the game intelligent enough to have a conversation with Curious Light. Additionally, given how Guiding Light knows how Starlight Vials function, they have some awareness of Curious Light. Furthermore, there's also how Curious Light was told by someone how players need oxygen to live, and the only other person who knows about oxygen and its relationship with the player is Guiding Light. Really, there is just an overwhelming amount of evidence pointing towards Guiding Light and Curious Light speaking to each other multiple times, and that So, given how Curious Light knows nearly everything about Glitch and Guiding Light knows absolutely nothing, paired with how both characters have spoken to each other, it means that Curious Light is likely withholding information about Glitch from Guiding Light. This is a rather odd detail too, as it appears Guiding Light actually informed Curious Light about how players need oxygen to survive, meaning although she is trying to help him aid the player, Curious Light is not reciprocating by sharing the knowledge they know about Glitch. Now, as to why they're doing this, I'm unsure. It may have something to do with the barrier meant to prevent Glitch from accessing subfloors, but it definitely is interesting to see how Curious Light could be keeping such a big secret from someone who is seemingly a close friend. At least someone who's trying to help them aid the player. So, with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what you think of this new Glitch lore, as well as what your theories are about the main floor-subfloor barrier, and how Curious Light is hiding something from Guiding Light. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.